Here we are. We're gonna go back down to my headquarters from the mountain, and of course I will start commencing my DRT theory. That's my favorite skyscraper. That's my favorite skyscraper. So we're going down now. My DRT theory, gonna explain this. Of course, that's where I finished with the debt refusion theory. The DRT debt refusion theory will make the statement that is the only solution or something very similar to my DRT theory. Gotta be prudent here when I go down on the stairs, of course, and gonna discuss quickly, get into the DRT because that's where part one for this 25th of February. Special Dragon versus Storm, celebrating, marking 5 years since I survived COVID. Celebrating 5 years since I survived COVID. 5 years since I survived COVID from the mountain here. Mountain, the Belvedere Conjuranak is right there. My second home is right here. Belvedere Conjuranak, Belvedere, the chalet, inviting all to the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, Adrian Hanna Dragons Summit for the New World Order. 93 code, the banquet here. There's tables. First I put on the tables trillions of kisses to lay the foundations for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. Pledge your allegiance. So we're going to discuss the DRT, debt refusion tree, because that's where I left off. By mistake, of course, it kind of pressed the stop button to stop recording. So not by volition. So this is part two for the 24th of Correction, 25th of February today, marking, celebrating 5 years since I survived COVID. So I'm going to discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory. So I made the statement that Canadian public debt last year, we paid a record interest, which was 46.5 billion. Keep in mind that a billion has 9 zeros. So that's 46,000 man. So in 2020, 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. That was the number, of course. So it more than doubled. If you make the coefficient, economic financial coefficient, that means that from 20.3 billion, double would have been 20.3 times 2 is 40.6. So that would have been double. So it more than doubled. Just the interest, debt servicing, just the interest paid on the public debt of Canada. Yes, due to COVID, and I had COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. I always say I died during COVID. Nothing that I will to go back, and I survived COVID, and I don't know how I always say I died during COVID, and I keep those hygienic protocols for those bacteria, microbes, germs, and encourage you to work out, train, exercise, and clean your hands, disinfect your hands properly when you touch those machines, screens, and the bank teller, whatever it is, when you go out, and even in the home. Although don't worry about me, I get dirty, but I get back clean. Sometimes I'm a mess. Plus I got that Asperger's, so it wasn't easy to live with my neurological mental divergent condition, but it's got its strengths, and due to the curse of Asperger's, I can say that the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, now follows as a blessing for me, for you, for us Canadians, Quebecers, North Americans, because we're part of the North American Collective, and this Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA thrice, once as a man, twice as a woman, you get that 50-50. Now focus on the DRT, debt refusion theory. So the point is that we pay now more than double, that the interest on the public debt has more than doubled from 20.3 billion to 46.5 billion. So that is what you have to focus. So keep in mind, just like the mathematical financial principles, that if an individual's credit cards, loans on credit cards, I don't have credit cards myself, I have just one credit line, and I pay 11% interest of $10,000. So I am financially stressed. $10,000. So I am myself financially stressed. So keep that in mind. If I go down these stairs, and if I fall, bury me with Papa Crowley. 1/3 of me up in New Jersey, 1/3 of me up in here, the back of the Belvedere Chalet Conjuranak, and 1/3 send to the City of the Pyramids. Send a third to the City of the Pyramids. I said send 1/3 to the City of the Pyramids there near Cairo in a past life where I roamed about as a priestess. And wherever a man or woman, you get that DRT, debt refusion tea. So there's no way out of the financial situation in many specifics, both the public and the private, since that is how much we pay interest, 46.5 billion, and now it's keeping increasing, so it's not sustainable. And yes, due to COVID, it has doubled, but it has more than doubled in 3 years. Can you imagine? While the GDP of Canada, the economy of Canada, the gross domestic product, or the production, the economy of Canada, what's measured in GDP, gross domestic, has not doubled, and even it went negative a bit. So obviously, we have to reduce, we have to cut the spending. What are we going to cut in the public? Police services, security services, the sanitation, those picking up the garbage, the recycling, the compost, the public health care. What are we going to cut? What are we going to reduce? Public schools. There's no way out of this. But my DRT theory is just how it is, mathematical financial principle, just correlated from an individual perspective. Let's say citizen X, me, you, or somebody else, would have paid $156 interest in 2020 and 2021, and last year, 3 years later, from 156 it jumps to 333. From 156 it jumps to 333. From 156, let's say it jumps to 333. That means that if the salary doubles, that's okay. But how many citizens you know whose salaries have doubled? Not many. Not many. Salaries, average salary increase from 2020 to this year, 2025, has been 4.4%. Average. So some have increased by 3%, 2%, some more, 5, 6, 7, 10. But average salary increase has been 4.4%. 4.4%. Average salary increase, 4.4%. Keep that in mind. Because very few salaries have doubled. Right? So if, of course, a citizen XYZ, citizen consumer, would have had to reduce the spending, cut Netflix, cut on the beer, cut on the, if you know, here in Canada cannabis is legal, cut on spending on cannabis, cut buying wine, cut going out to the movies, order out, order pizza or whatever. You have to reduce. Exactly the same principle applies with the public debt. So what are we going to cut? Police, security services, RCMP, prisons, correctional facilities, and public sanitation. It more than doubled, just the interest, from 20.3 billion to 46.5 billion. So 20.3 billion was the equivalent of 20,000, because 1 billion has 9 zeros. It was still very, very high, 2020, 2021 fiscal year. 20,000 million. It went from 20,300 million to 46,500 million. A half a billion is 500 million. A billion has 9 zeros, not 8. A billion is 1,000 million, not 100. 1 billion is 1,000 million, not 100. Right? A billion has 9 zeros. It's 1,000 million. It's not 100 million. You got to keep that in mind in the mathematics. So that is how much. Just check with the Tiff Macklin, my cousin, with Auntie Christia Freeland. I guess she departed from the Minister of Finance. But there's no way out of this situation. You can argue all you want, but something similar, or my DRT theory, debt refusion theory, or something similar to it. Because just like an individual will have to go bankrupt. If the salary doesn't double, but the interest paid on the debt doubles, automatically that's the same principle as with the public debt. The economy of Canada, GDP of Canada, is going to probably double in 44 years. In more than 44 years, it's going to take to double, right? At this rate of 2.5%, whatever. So we get to 100%, it's going to take decades, generations. But nonetheless, my DRT theory, paradoxically coming from the curse of Asperger's or something similar, in my DRT theory, I'm going to explain it now, because that's where I left off the first video. So in my DRT theory, in my debt refusion theory, is included and integrated in my DRT theory, is included monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The Europeans in the 90s, decades ago, the Germans, they got rid of the Deutsche Mark. The Italians, they got rid of the lira. The French, they got rid of the franc. They destroyed many countries in Europe. They destroyed Germany, destroyed their national central bank. Italy, France, they destroyed their national central bank, and they annulled their national currencies. They do not longer have their national currency nor their national central banks. Many countries in Europe destroyed their national central banks in the 90s, and of course created a common currency. So now they have the ECB, the European Central Bank, which is not a national central bank. It's a multinational central bank. So it's a central bank for different nation states joint, the ECB, European Central Bank, and of course it issues the currency known as the euro. So keep that in mind, So my DRT theory, my debt refusion theory, contains in it, in my theory, DRT is integrated monetary integration theory, MIT, not to be confused with the MIT Institute of Technology, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, not to be confused with the MIT. So in my DRT, debt refusion theory, is integrated monetary integration theory. And monetary integration theory is exactly the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union in the 90s. So inside my theory. So that's what you have to keep in mind. Integrated in my DRT theory, integrated in my debt refusion theory is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union by the creation of a common central bank and a common currency. Because there's no other way out of this where we are now. You can argue, brothers and sisters, left, right, and center, but listen, this is just what mostly COVID caused. The interest payments are not sustainable. You realize today is no longer sustainable. Today is a crisis. It's possible that a black swan event for the public finances of Canada starts tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. It's possible, you know, so it's possible, you know, so that's what it is with that. So that's what we gotta get doing with that. That's what we gotta get doing on the go. That's what we gotta get doing on the now. So that's what we gotta get doing on that. So we gotta get it on the go. So it's something which we gotta be on the mindful with it. So the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchange, that's the only solution. There's no other solution. Or something very similar to it, just because the mathematical financial principles, you know, the GDP of Canada is far from double, the interest double, just like the same would have been the case with an individual. So the debt refusion theory, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000 included, to the RBC. And again, these numbers, the interest we pay on the public debt of Canada, they're public. You can check with my cousin Tiff Macklem of Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of Canada, with Auntie Krista Freeland has gone from the Ministry of Finance, but we could have been checking out because the public information is available for the numbers I said of last year that we paid 46.5 billion in interest, which is 46,000 million. So the DRT explained, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, coast ocean to ocean, all the public and the private debt. Because much of the public and the private debt, we have reached record levels. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, all the debt, public and private, all the debt, public and private, we're going to convert it to US dollars, added with the US. So all the public-private debt joins, if not Canada first, but preferably simultaneously with the United States. Simultaneously, like the establishment of the NHL and the NBA, which are now really national, and the PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, to do it. It takes a public-private partnership. In parallel, we're going to also do a great North American census to see and to establish everybody who's living here since at least 2020, let's say February 2020, or summer July 24th, 2017, or summer July 24th, 2017, more than 5 or 7 years to assess linguistics and whatever have you assess and do an emergency census, North American census, and create a common passport. So the DRT, debt refusion theory includes monetary integration theory. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000 included, yours coast to coast, ocean to ocean, we're gonna convert it to US dollars, and we're gonna add it with the United States public and private debt of the USA. Public and private debt in the USA. All that money is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All the public private debt is gonna be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All the public and private debt is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All the public and private debt is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. All the public private debt converted to US dollars added with the US is going to be the initial money supply for a new currency, for a new central bank, and we're going to issue a new currency based on the value of the US dollar called the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. The universal exchange, which is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. And we're going to, of course, rebuild the North American infrastructure. North American infrastructure. We're going to rebuild the North American infrastructure. We're going to rebuild the North American infrastructure. The highways, the bridges. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to finance mass citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to mass finance fitness. We're going to mass finance fitness, mass finance fitness. Mass finance the building construction 44 tunnels, 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war across North America, and inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. Stack them with cans of sardines, cans of bacon, cans of beans, cans and bags that can sustain 3.5 years shelf life, 3.5 years, 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, 11 years, more than 44 years, whatever have you. So we're going to stack them wood up in case of a thermonuclear war. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to mass finance citizens fitness activity. We're going to mass finance tourism, and we're going to mass finance the establishment of the two public-private partnership institutions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, with it, the Dragon Army for Security Service and Defense, the North American Integrated Security Force, and the North American Integrated Sport Dance League for security service and the environment and purpose and pleasure, because dancing is my favorite sport and fitness activity. So the DGA Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, with the Dragon Army, the North American Integrated Security and Service Force, and us here in the True North Strong and Free unite with my brothers and sisters in the home of the brave land of the free. But it's not enough, huh? Strength, freedom, and bravery. You gotta add some of that love, 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 L-O-V, you know, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, the firefighters. Send some love into the truckers, construction workers, those in the daycares who change some diapers. Here I just crossed my second home, Belvedere, Conjure, not calling all. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou our family. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou our family. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou our family. And from the Belvedere, Conjure, Knack. 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 At the chalet for the banquet, right at the top. For the establishment of the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is my dream fundamentally, for a PPP, a public-private partnership. Fundamentally, my dream is a call for a public-private partnership across the North American Collective, a public-private partnership across the North American Collective, a public-private partnership, and for rebirth, regeneration, restructuring, and lots of that good joy. Lots of that good joy, lots of that good joy. That's what we need to do with that. That's what we need to do with that. And lots of that good joy with it. And grateful, thankful. My rent's paid and electricity bill's paid. Rent's paid, electricity bill's paid. Got food, got coffee. And got some of those. No more bacon, but I got bacon over the weekend. So I got it on special reduced. So I thought about Monroe, Belvedere, Conjure, Knack. We got to get it for the construction workers. See here, we went down some layers, but there we were at top Belvedere, my second home. In this life, parallel life, my second home, the mistress. I'm gonna propose again a marriage, propose against some marriage, propose against some marriage to my anonymous friend, you know. Gonna need to get a ring to buy a little bit of ring, some second hand, but I'm gonna fight Donald Trump and give half 50% of every million billion which I make to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, and gonna fight Donald Trump in a boxing match on the Canadian-US border, you know. Somebody today would consent, please. HUG, hug like you never hugged before. Hopefully somebody making that love, and I don't know about that 51st date, but do know that should invite us properly This Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA 3 times post 7076, and once as a woman, twice as a man. Served twice in the United States Army. Served twice in the United States Army. Served twice in the United States Army. And yours truly served twice in the United States Army. Served twice in the United States Army. Served twice in the United States Army, you know. Served twice in the United States Army. 2 different wars, 156 years apart. Same army, 2 different wars, 156 years apart. Same army, 2 different wars, 156 years apart. And got those red gloves in the backpack. Red, auctioning them. A few billion, auctioning the backpack for $1 million, auctioning the backpack for $1 million, auctioning everything that I'm wearing. The shoes, the underwear, the socks, $1 million each item. Gonna give 50% half to my anonymous friend. And North American Collective, it's again, would have voted definitely Kamala. And I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match. Let's go build on the Canadian-US border, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. Build on the Canadian border, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and the House of the Dragon, the Pyramid, House of the Dragon, Pyramid, red, scarlet, on the Canadian-US border, and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. Let's build it together, and the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, and Forgotten Goddess Temple, House of the Dragon, and Forgotten Goddess Temple, also known as the Goddess Temple of Trillion of Names. I will to build a goddess, G-O-D-D-E-S-S, because I had COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, and I died during COVID, and I created my surviving COVID to the goddess, forgotten goddess, by which I put on the table trillions of kisses created from that goddess. Forgotten trillions of kisses to put on the table. Kisses by the trillions. Some marching steps, lots of marching steps, plenty of rock and roll 24/7. Aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, mystic, challenging Donald Trump since 2018 to a boxing match, and you know, it's not the proper way to invite us. Get some invitations to Canadians to visit the 50 states, get some buses, and get some sponsorship for hotels, for some good hotels, some good breakfast, some good visitations, you know, not with tariffs, not with threats, with a LOVE, you know. That's how the way to cherish it. That's the way to cherish it, not the bully type, not the bullying way. You know what I'm saying? That's the way to do it. Dragon versus Trump. Let's build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. Let's get that North American Collective Workers' Party, the UE. Pledge your allegiance, our family. Let's get the North American Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple. Goddess of many names, you know, trillions of names, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get on that financing. Money is to buy, sell, and calling them astrological brother Scorpio, Bill Gates. Pledge your allegiance, my dream, which is fundamentally tied hand in hand with my Trinity theories, as is my democratic Republican centrism, my pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrism. My universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with the Trinity theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, debt fusion theory, which I just discussed, and the democratic fusion theory. Here from Montreal metropolis, second most populated city in Canada, which is more than approaching 44 million now, if not past 44 million plus now, because we got record immigration during COVID, but in the past 2.5 years, record immigration, and all who come to join us here. I got Canada tatted up. Don't ask me how I got that tattoo, probably decades ago. And I got freedom tatted, freedom on one arm, Canada on the other, and true north, strong and free, yes, but we also got to add some of that LOVE, some love, because as much as I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who has predicted an international conflagration back in 2019, I could also say and make the statement, of course, that it does not take only strength. As much as I understand peace through strength, I support it 50%. But not 100%, because it also takes some loving. You know, if you got to have peace here, You know, if my anonymous friend tolerated me with Asperger's, you know, so much stuff, you know, to people who have Asperger's, you know, we're less than 1%, less than 1 percentile, less than half of a percentage, 0.44%, 0.44%, 0.44%, 0.44%. And you're going too high. It's at 44, 44, 44, you know, too high. So approaching 45, approaching close to 45, close to 45 on that one. So here you got that slowed down here, you know. But anyways, so being part of a tiny minority neurodivergence, people who are neurodivergent like myself, you know, neurodivergent, well, it's something which we gotta be mindful of, because I'm also part of the LGBTQ community, and my brothers and sisters also, LOVE, some love and hugs to put on the table, kisses with them, my brothers and sisters who are blacks, blacks, you know, across North American Collectif, Canada, US, 13.3, 13.4%, including my neighbors are blacks, which are my brothers and sisters, and you know, at the end of the day, we got each other's backs. You know, the General Dragon, Rainbow Dragon Clit Dick, Rainbow Dragon General Cuckold, gonna say that. If I give an order, you know, to wash some feet, and if to a black man or a black woman, or you know, whatever the case may be, you gotta be okay with that, because then how are we gonna get an order for defense? You know, for defense. So you gotta coalesce a unit for defense, security, and service. To my fellow black brothers and sisters as well, my fellow LGBTQ community as well. So for the Black History Month, you know, when you gotta give an order like that, you gotta give an order then to open fire, lethal force only to be used for defense. Dragon Army, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, defense, security, and service for the 21st century. That's my dream. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective. Civilization is a privilege, my brothers and sisters. To my black brothers and sisters, my neighbors included, you know, 13.3, 13.4 of the population. Sometimes we have racism, you know. We have discrimination. Sometimes it's subconscious. We gotta work on it. So everybody who comes to join us here in the free world, in the new world, because we're a new, emergent civilizational collective. We're a civilizational collective which is emergent and new, and is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So it's not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. It's not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So it's not totally divorced, but it is distinct from Western civilization. And yes, we have threats now, potential sabotage, espionage, and maybe even invasion. I don't know, maybe when I get back at home tomorrow night, we're going to see breaking news. People's Republic of China has invaded Taiwan. They have an unresolved conflict from the 20th century, just like Ukraine, Russia do. Just like Israel, Middle East, and Palestine, and Hamas, and the Arab world also have an unresolved conflict dating from the Cold War in the 20th century. Here we made the great linguistic compromise of the French language, and my brothers and sisters are also blacks. Well, my brothers and sisters black here in North America, 13.3%, 13.4. I don't have money to sponsor, but I'd rather be kissing and dancing and doing some of that push-ups and getting some of that coast-to-coast, ocean-to-ocean defense and rebuilding the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos, Liberty City and others places. We need mass sign an executive order for that. That's what I'm going to sign an executive order for. That's what I'm going to be signing an executive order for, to get some billions in that. Sign an executive order to get mass building that. Army Corps of Engineers, blah, blah, blah. You're telling me nothing, you know. You're telling me nothing, you know. So that's what it is. And here I got to go up and down, and then I got to go back to my headquarters. So the privilege of civilization, that was my thesis in 2023, you know. Having electricity, aqueducts, running water. All this is a privilege. Electricity, the internet, satellites. In the parallel life, I build, design, make, create supercomputers, microchips, satellites, and I'm learning a bit about now, catching up, I guess, with my parallel self, with my parallel self. And of course, I gotta invoke that God, like my Papa Crowley up in New Jersey, Thoth, the God of wisdom, scribe of knowledge, you know, knowing all the languages. Maybe that deity exists, God, a goddess. I created my surviving to the goddess, and I will to build the forgotten goddess temple, aka the goddess. The temple of the goddess of trillions of names. My spirituality, mystic part aside, I do know that my DRT theory, debt fusion theory, is the only solution or something similar. That's just mathematical financial principle. You know, money is to buy, sell, and I've been financially stressed. having been financially stressed, I'm gonna be living simple and with gratitude. But I was able, again, gotta give a shout out to the fellow cashier who, put 10 cents, because I was missing 10 cents, and I was gonna remove one of the chocolate bars because I got 2 chocolate bars for 50 cents. 50 cents, 2 chocolate bars for 50 cents. And 2 chocolate bars, and I got some wafers. Because I love, I love those wafers. So it added to 240. So I only had 230. And the cashier said, we're gonna vouch. So I'm gonna cover you. I got your back, said I gotta cover. So I said, hey, I hope you get a raise. Love you. That was it with that. So that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. So that's what we gotta get doing on the go. That's what we gotta get doing. So gotta get salutations for the public workers, and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food. And we gotta get rid of that border. Mostly the resources is, of course, the resources to cover and put coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Best to focus on the airports and the airports. My Dragon Army initiative it's best to focus on the airports and the ports, because those are points of entry for fentanyl, organized crime, and whatever sabotage potential. So we got to do a great North American census to assess who's been living here since February 2020. I've been living in the same place for many years, in the same place. So that's what it is. They're in the same place. That's what we got to get doing. So having lived there in the same place, we got to get on that disposition. And having lived on the same place and been for many years, and of course in another place, and say we got to do a census since 2017. So that's what we got to get doing with that. So here it is. Some things which we got to be doing, and always got to give for that accreditation, and always hopefully somebody making some love tonight, Otherwise, what are we fighting to save for if somebody not making love tonight? What are we fighting to save for? Wall Street billionaires, they got their money, got their paper, got their mansions. They're good to go, rock and roll, give some charity, don't be so selfish. Go incognito, artists, athletes, put a hoodie and go incognito, give some charity around the neighborhood of the North American Collective. That's what we gotta be doing on that for XYZ, because it takes some of that LOV, LOV, love is important. The true, north, strong, and free. But also we gotta get some love with that, We gotta get some love with that, So we gotta get some love, and the children, the youth, they're happy, I'm happy, And I always say Minister of National Defense Bill Blair and new Minister Defense Secretary General Hexet. Gotta put a new protocol, Dragon Army. Before you put a uniform, carry lethal force, you gotta put on a little bit of that. Go change some diapers in the daycares, Gotta go change some diapers in the daycares. Gotta go change some diapers in the daycares, Gotta go change some diapers in the daycares, Gotta go change some diapers in the daycares, That's what we gotta do with that. So change some diapers in the daycares, and that's what we gotta be doing with that, That would be a new protocol, because those are the ones, right? The Defense Security Service, and also for the elderly. I had the privilege, I have the experience to work a few weeks, 2 months, on the CSSLDs with the senior citizens. So that was really nice. I really loved it. I had many employments, many jobs, a few months, a few weeks. But, with Asperger's, sometimes it's difficult, because interacting with neurotypical fellow citizens and workers sometimes it can be more difficult, and it's often confused for a mental illness. Having Asperger's, which is not. Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is just a neurological mental divergent condition which makes me predisposed to obsessive interest, also known as special interest. I actually have the preference of utilizing the terminology special interest rather than obsessive, because obsessive has a more negative terminology to it. So using the appellation of the terminology special interest, on which I do have my Holy Trinity, of course, it's geopolitics. Sometimes I spend the hours and hours drink some coffee and focus on geopolitical analysis, and focus on that geopolitics, and of course sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport and fitness activity. And rock and roll with that. So that is something which I am super focused in, and those are my three The Holy Trinity of special interest for Rainbow Dragon, Adrian, Hannah Dragon, pledge your allegiance, support a dream. The dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilization complex. For the institutionalization, I'm basing on my several papers which I've written over the past 7+ years, mostly for defense, security, and service, and for the rebirth, rejuvenation of the North American complex, for the mass finance, tourism. Invite us properly. Put up mass financing for Canadians to come and visit the 50 states. Mass trucks, mass building, mass mobilization, public-private partnership, vice versa. Canadians, North Americans, Canadians and USA, my brothers in the USA, to come visit each other. Mass finance, intra-Canada, US tourism. That's the way. Put some billions from your billions, billionaire. I'm gonna knock you out. Dragon versus Trump, Dragon versus Trump. On the Canadian-US border, let's build a North American Imperial Coliseum, and I am for fusion, but my Trinity theory is best in the way manner to fuse the North American collective, because we constitute a new emerging civilizational complex, and here we're going to defend the French language, and we're 9 million, myself included, Quebecer, Canadian, North American, is not just Celine Dion. Celine Dion, we gotta go listen to some Celine Dion songs, Celine Dion's learn a little bit of that French. Learn a little bit of some parler français, that's not a problem, pas de problème. You know how we do it here as a Quebecer. Myself always sing that double trouble rock and roll, French and English, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the go. So it's something which we gotta be, something which I gotta be. I gotta be meditating, thinking, everything that we have here, my wafers, the fact that the grocery store clerk, 10 cents, it wasn't much, but the citizen worker said, hey, don't worry about it, I'm gonna put it. So she took the 10 cents and put it and covered me, because I was gonna remove one of those bars of chocolates, and now when I get back home after the more 4-hour march, I'm gonna have a little reward. So I'm gonna have my candies, little candy bars with it, so that's gonna be a little plus side. So it's something which, of course, I gotta be grateful for that, and that's an act of goodness and kindness. We gotta increase in acts of goodness and kindness. Goodness with kindness, we gotta increase, Takes a balance, takes some justice, the self and the other. I'm not totally selfless, I'm not totally perfect. Philosophically, I still have lots of questions about spirituality. The manners, no. My DRT theory, there's no question. Debt refusion theory, there's no question surrounding my debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. That is a certainty, and that is, of course, a conclusion which